When my dad was a kid, one of the stories that I've heard about him was that at the fair, they figured out under certain rides you could collect change that had fallen out of people's pockets. And his brothers said that when they got their change, they would go buy candy, and that my dad would go put his in the bank.
I was always able, let's say, to defer gratification. My parents instilled a very strong work ethic in me. They owned the Rose Shop, which was on First South near Main Street. I used to go downtown to work at the Rose Shop when I was in second grade. I had a paper route, and I also cut lawns in the neighborhood. I was always very careful about saving my money and careful about investing it. I went to the University of Utah, and I was not a really good engineering student.
He talks about the beginning at University of Utah not being really all that focused.
It wasn't that engineering school was that hard, I just didn't work. I didn't do the things that I should have been doing. When I graduated, I got married and decided that I'd better change my ways. We decided to accept a job at Boeing as an engineer and moved to Seattle, Washington. And then in 1964, I accepted a job at Stanford Research Institute. Back in about 1968, an opportunity came up to start a computer company.
He wanted to have something kind of big.
You have children and you have a job in a prestigious research institute like Stanford Research Institute, and then you decide, okay, I'm going to go out and start this company. It's a very challenging time to make that leap.
We started that company and it took off, looked like it was going to be a huge, huge success. But then we flamed out.
Sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't.
I had a wife and 2 small children, and I desperately needed a job.
Around 72, I started a market research company called DataQuest. And to my good fortune, Dave was available at that time to come join me.
I was given the task of becoming the authority on Xerox.
He came out with a report on Xerox when Xerox was the most expensive company in the whole United States, and came out with a negative report on Xerox. And some of the fund managers got so angry at him.
They really were quite unhappy about it.
He was right. And as you know, Xerox was trending downward for many, many years. That was really the first time we really made the world known about DataQuest, thanks to Dave Jorgensen.
DataQuest was very successful, very quickly. It grew very fast.
One of the things I'd learned a lot about at DataQuest was that the Japanese copier manufacturers were coming in and taking enormous market share.
He got to talking with his partner and they were saying, you know, nobody's knocking off the parts for printers, copiers, and faxes.
I had made contact with a fellow about starting a company in the copier industry that would supply replacement parts.
My dad and his partner took a business that started out from nothing in a small warehouse and grew it up to a $350 million a year business with 1,000 employees and offices all over the world. He's very, very frugal. I remember sitting on a ski lift and my dad's got his ski gloves on and he's used shoe goo to put some leather over a patch. And this guy, you know, who works for him, sitting there with these brand new gloves and he goes, Dave, it's time to buy some new gloves.
Dave is very conservative, so he's been able to have funds to contribute to the University of Utah and to many other key causes out there.
Our engineering scholarship program at the U is especially satisfying to us.
It's people who have potential, but might not be able to do it if they didn't have the help.
We're really interested in what they're doing and what's going to happen to them. I traveled around the world in business, and now I'm traveling around the world for fun. My most recent trip was to Australia and New Zealand. I was on a tour. They asked for a show of hands of who wanted to jump off the bridge, and I was the only one that put my hand up. I went in to pay, and she said, "How old are you?" And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm too old. And I said, I'm 78. And she said, oh, it's free. That saved me $225. We've had a wonderful marriage. We just had our 55th wedding anniversary. We got 3 grandsons. We enjoy them enormously. That's the biggest focus in my life right now.